Over the years, numerous professional football players have been charged with some truly heinous crimes. And in this video, we'll be going over NFL players who got in trouble with the law. Remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. Michael Vick. Yeah, Michael Vick got in trouble for dogfighting. Let's start off with a player in a situation that actually had a somewhat happy ending. Michael Vick was riding high when his world came crashing down on him in 2007. The former Atlanta Falcons quarterback and football icon, who had a $100 million contract under his belt, was arrested for running an illegal dogfighting ring at his house in Virginia, called Bad News Kennels. And yeah, it was bad news for Michael Vick. The case drew widespread publicity and brought attention to the issue of animal cruelty. Vick was charged with illegal dogfighting, gambling, and brutal executions of dogs. And a lot of people hated him for it, and understandably so. Vick served 23 months in jail and was suspended by the NFL. 23 months isn't much for Michael Vick considering that dogs were killed. How could you do such a thing? Like, that should put you in jail for life. Let's be real. But on the bright side, this story does have a positive outcome, because Michael Vick was able to rehabilitate himself, and he changed as a person. He changed as a person off the field. Luckily for him, on the field, he was still just as dominant.
First, I want to apologize for all the things that I've done and that I've allowed to happen. So I will redeem myself.
And just to show how much he learned his lesson, he began working to help authorities eliminate dogfighting in an attempt to make amends for his actions. So I could respect him for that, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that still hate him forever. And I get it, because we're talking about dogs. Now, as bad as animal cruelty is, it doesn't come close to how bad Ben Roethlisberger's crime was, because his crime was sexual assault. Ben Roethlisberger is just another NFL player who's managed to tame some demons and emerge as a better person and athlete in the second half of his career. After winning 2 Super Bowls as the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Roethlisberger was known to party and travel around with a posse of friends and relatives. And this hard partying lifestyle led to Roethlisberger being investigated for sexual assault on 2 separate occasions. I mean, come on, man, seriously? Twice? Once is bad enough, but twice? In 2009, Ben was accused of assaulting a woman at a Lake Tahoe hotel, and in 2010, a woman claimed that Big Ben assaulted her in a Georgia nightclub. I mean, the guy just didn't learn his lesson. While Big Ben was never formally charged in either case, he settled a civil lawsuit out of court in the first incident. The second case was abandoned by prosecutors when the alleged victim decided that she didn't want to pursue the case anymore. Interesting.
The sexual allegation against Mr. Roethlisberger cannot be proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
Despite that, the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell suspended Ben for the first 6 games of the 2010 football season, saying that the quarterback had violated the NFL's personal conduct policy. And in my opinion, he should have been suspended a lot longer. But actually it went the other way around, because it was reduced to 4 games. But after counseling and getting married and settling down with kids, Ben seemed to have calmed down from his crazy ways and will hopefully stay out of trouble, because those allegations are no joke. And another thing that's no joke is domestic violence, which Ray Rice did on video in 2014. Anyone who has paid attention to the news in the past few years will recall the infamous video of Baltimore Ravens running back Ray Rice knocking his fiancée out cold in a casino elevator. I mean, the video was gruesome. The 2014 images of Rice punching his then fiancée and now wife, Janae Palmer, and then dragging her limp body out of the elevator were just horrifying and shocking. I was disgusted. Arrested and charged with assault and domestic violence, Rice was quickly cut by the Ravens and suspended by the league. And keep in mind, this was when the Ravens were a really good team. The Ravens then issued a statement after the video was made public, calling Rice's actions a serious matter. But surprisingly, the criminal charges were later dropped after Rice agreed to undergo court-supervised counseling. But unfortunately, the NFL never took Ray Rice back, and no team has signed him since. And his fiancée, who's now his wife, seemed to have forgiven him. But that stain will never leave his career. I mean, the video is horrible.
I think it's so hard for people to understand why you haven't looked at that tape.
I was there. Yeah. I lived it. I don't really need to relive it over and over again just to appease the world.
Speaking of stains that will never leave someone's career, let's talk about Ray Lewis and his double homicide, or alleged double homicide. The 2-time Super Bowl champion Ray Lewis had a storybook career in the NFL, but the former Baltimore Ravens linebacker almost lost it all when he was charged with a double homicide and put on trial for murder. And there was a chance that he could have got the death penalty, and that's just no joke. Following a Super Bowl party in Atlanta in 2000, a fight broke out between Ray Lewis and some of his friends and another group of people, resulting in the stabbing deaths of 2 victims. 11 days after the incident, Lewis was arrested and indicted on murder and aggravated assault charges. A white suit that Lewis was wearing in that night of the murder has never been found. I wonder where it's at. 2 weeks into the trial, Lewis's attorneys negotiated a plea agreement with the district attorney that saw the murder charges dismissed in exchange for Lewis testifying against 2 of his friends who were with him that night. The friends were later acquitted and no other suspects have ever been arrested for the murders. That's just very unfortunate, because those victims and their families deserve closure. But somehow Lewis was able to resume his career and won a second Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens in 2013 before retiring after a Hall of Fame worthy career. But everybody will always be curious about that double homicide. Now, someone who did get charged for homicide is Aaron Hernandez. Former New England Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez was riding tall in the saddle in 2013 before he was charged and later convicted of murder. At the time of his arrest in 2013, Hernandez had a $40 million contract with the Patriots and was part of an effective 2 tight end tandem, along with fellow Patriots player Rob Gronkowski. They were a dominant duo. Hernandez lost it all when he was found guilty of first-degree murder in the killing of Odin Lloyd, a semi-professional football player and friend. He might have took it a little too far though, because Lloyd's body was found in an industrial park about a mile from Hernandez's house, with multiple gunshot wounds to the back and the chest. And unfortunately for him, he committed suicide in prison. To think what could have been.
Former New England Patriot player Aaron Hernandez was found dead in his jail cell this morning. That happened at around 4 o'clock. The discovery was made around 4 o'clock.
Now, Hernandez isn't the only player to have murder associated with their name. Let's talk about O.J. Simpson. He's done some stuff. The most infamous NFL player to ever be charged with a crime is O.J. Simpson, without a doubt. In fact, Simpson has become so well known for his crimes that many people forget he was a Hall of Fame running back and broke many NFL records. But his murder case was way more interesting. A former Heisman Trophy winner coming out of college, Simpson was the first NFL player to rush more than 2,000 yards in a season. But too bad for him, because his accomplishments on the gridiron had been overshadowed by his alleged criminal deeds. Alleged. In 1994, O.J. Simpson was arrested and charged with the murders of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ronald Goldman, following what became known as the Trial of the Century, which is a crazy name.
As things got heated, I just remember Nicole fell, and this guy kind of got into a karate thing, and I said, well, you think you can kick my ass? And I remember I grabbed a knife. I do remember that portion, taking a knife from Charlie, and to be honest, after that, I don't remember.
Simpson was acquitted of those charges, although he was found responsible in a civil suit. This case has snowballed into so many things. A part of O.J. Simpson's lawyer team was Robert Kardashian, and that trial was so big that it put their family on the map, and the rest of the world got introduced to the Kardashian family. So O.J. Simpson should be serving life just for that alone. But there are some crimes where he did get caught in, like in 2007 when he was arrested in Las Vegas for armed robbery and kidnapping, really pushing his luck. Although he did rob some memorabilia that used to be his. So yeah, O.J. Simpson has had quite a career on and off the field. And with that being said, that wraps up today's video of NFL players who got in trouble with the law. Comment down below your opinions, drop a like, and subscribe to FUMBLE Central for more videos.